I hope you're having a great day. Today I want to talk about Indian food. You see, we live in a country which is diverse in culture, diverse in the kind of food that we eat, diverse in recipes, it's diverse in the oils that we use, it differentiates from state to state. For the longest time, Indian food has gotten a bad rap because it's linked to high cholesterol, it's linked with too much of sugar, it's linked with high carbohydrate. And all these mindsets have to change because when you go back to India many decades ago, things like diabetes, things like cardiovascular problems, things like cancer, things like Alzheimer's and dementia were unheard of. Okay, all this started changing when our lifestyle started changing and when the gates to import and export opened up and people started allowing a flood of all the processed and junk food from the West to enter our country. The biggest problem that we have is the Indian mentality for many is still to ape the West, to copy what they eat, to embrace what they eat, to think that if we adopt a Western culture of eating, it's cool. It means that if we can fly in our foods from abroad, it shows that we have status, it shows that we have wealth, and it shows that we're cool because we're eating some fancy Western foods which are highly processed and comes under the category of junk. When you go back into the wisdom of traditional Indian food, you will find science, you will find taste, you will find health benefits, you will find the power of different combinations of foods that supported immunity, supported inflammation, supported your brain, supported your growth, and supported several other functions in the human body. It was unheard of that people needed excess protein, even if you were a Jain vegetarian. Okay, there were people who worked 9-to-5 jobs. There were people who worked in the fields and they had sufficient protein to get them through their day and enough of protein to have a decent, well-toned or fit body. We have to understand that we have several trillion cells in the human body. These cells require variety of nutrients that comes from a variety of food. When you look at the Indian diet, it equals variety. We have spices, incredible amount of spices from cloves to elaichi, which is cardamom. Then you have your jeera, you have your turmeric, then you have your ginger. You have incredible amount of spices. And when you dissect these spices, you find that every spice has a health benefit and is being used in extract form in the form of a nutraceutical or supplement or something termed as a superfood by the Western world. And while they continue to take our spices to make nutraceuticals that support their health, we continue to embrace all the crap that comes in from their country into ours. And we get variety from a number of spices. We get variety from a number of vegetables. When you look at the different local vegetables that grow in each state across the country, you will find that these vegetables grow in that particular region for a particular reason. You have warm foods, you have cold foods. You have vegetables that grow at a particular season that can keep the body cool. You have certain fruits that when eaten at a particular time boosts your immunity, preparing you for the next season. So you see, you get variety in the fruits, in the vegetables, in the amount of grains that we have. We have so many grains ranging from bajra to nachni to jowar to your wheat to different grades of rice. Yep, rice gets a bad rap. The bad rap has to be given to basmati rice, to the processed rice, to all the shiny rice, the highly processed rice. But when you look at hand-pounded rice, you'll find that most diabetics can eat hand-pounded rice and it doesn't even dent their sugar levels a bit. The culprit's not rice, the culprit is the way it is processed and the way it is sold to us. And then you have pulses and lentils. Look at the amount of different pulses and lentils that we have in our own country. While we constantly chase and seek more protein, you'll find some of the best protein in the lentils that we have and in the pulses that we have. And again, look at the amazing combinations that has existed for years and years in our tradition. A combination of white rice and lentil. A combination of brown rice and rajma, which are kidney beans, makes it a complete protein with all the amino acids. So you can compare that with an egg, which is the non-vegetarian source of a complete protein. So you look at the wisdom and even combinations of food. So what's gone wrong? Traditionally, India ate in thalis. Now, if you look at the traditional thali, each katori or each container was a small size. So you could have 2 or 3 lentils, you could have 2 or 3 vegetables, and then you had a little rice in the center, or you had a roti, or you had both of them. And you even had a small katori for a sweet inside. A perfectly balanced meal in the right proportion. Now you Google or you Amazon some of the thalis today and you look at the size, it's supersized. We were not designed to eat that much. They're supersized containers. You go to a proper Indian restaurant that serves you a thali, number one, you'll see that the portion sizes are far bigger. The size is bigger. So people in the olden days ate all of these, the mix of all of these foods. They didn't put on weight and they had energy because their lifestyles weren't as sedentary as we were. Everyone walked, everyone did their own work. The very, very upper class had servants to do everything else, but people were more active. And they could afford to eat that amount of food and get away even with a sweet with every meal because you were burning it. So what's changed is the Western culture of supersizing. Okay, you go to any restaurant and look at the size of portions. If you've eaten in the US, you'll find that you can't even finish an appetizer and you could share it with 2 to 3 people. That's a supersized portion. Okay, and we brought that culture back to our own country where we think we need to eat so much of food because it's the Western way of eating. Supersizing, upsizing, and all of that crap. And that's why we have problems with our health. You don't blame Indian food. What else has gone wrong with Indian food? Look at the magic of Indian oil. Certain states use mustard oil. Certain states use peanut oil. Certain states use coconut oil. Certain states use groundnut oil. These oils were wood churned or they were cold pressed without heat, without refining the process. And again, we decided to establish connections with the Western world, open up our gates and allow all the crappiest oils that even the US is not using anymore to enter our country. And while the US starts using our coconut oil today and terms it as a superfood, they use our ghee and they term it as clarified butter. We're looking for canola oil, we're looking for rice bran oil, we're looking for soy oil, we're looking for avocado oil and all of the oils which are not even natural to us, which are highly refined and which is destroying human health in India. So we changed our oils, we got new problems. We changed our salt, we got new problems. We went on to highly refined salt. When India used black salt, when India used rock salt, when India used pink salt. So today pink salt, which is found in our country, is now suddenly termed as a superfood. It comes with a higher cost and the West is using it. And we continue to go on using refined salt, thinking it's healthy for us. Okay, and we have more high blood pressure, we have more water retention problems and all of those things. So you see, Indian food and the traditions not really changed. The quality of the ingredients, the way we cook it has completely changed. We have Indians cooking Indian food in olive oil, which is the most destructive thing for the human body. It raises your inflammation because of the number of free radicals that we put in our system. Inflammation equals heart attack, not cholesterol. Inflammation equals heart attack. Inflammation equals high blood pressure. Inflammation equals diabetes. Inflammation equals strokes. Inflammation equals cancer. So we got to keep our eyes fixed on the root cause of the problem and not what the world keeps telling us that cholesterol is the biggest problem when it comes to heart attacks. Look at the diversity and the way Indian food was cooked. A couple of years ago, the word curry was frowned upon in the UK and in the US. If you ate curry, you were an Indian. It was an Indian thing. And today you'll find the Western world throws themselves into the health benefits of curries. Why? Look at the science in an Indian curry. If it's cooked the right way, with the right oil, with the right kind of salt, you have a base which is onion. You have a base which has tomato. Tomato, onion, black pepper, turmeric forms the base of most Indian curries. All these ingredients are I can't get the word right now. Angeniosis. Okay, I'm not going to get that word right now. But what I mean to say is it is extremely important for your immunity and to reduce inflammation. And most Indian curries have that base of key ingredients. Curry leaves, tomato, black pepper, onion, garlic, turmeric. Look at our pulses, look at our lentils. Every lentil will have turmeric in. Okay, turmeric is directly connected with reducing inflammation in the brain. The moment India stopped eating this and moving into more Western cultures and reducing the amount of turmeric in their food, we saw an immediate shoot up in Alzheimer's, in Parkinson's, and in dementia. There is a huge connection between inflammation in the brain and these diseases. And it is a known fact today that turmeric is being used all over the world. That is why even pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals are looking at curcumin and turmeric in their treatment for inflammation. We had this naturally in our food. Then we have Wheat. Yes, there's a problem with wheat today, the way it's processed. And I can promise you, when you really go to a farm and you take wheat out from the farmer directly, which has been untouched and unprocessed, you hand grind it or you process it in a mill and you make your rotis out of that, the normal wheat which will bloat you up, you will find that this pure wheat doesn't give you any bloat, doesn't give you any digestive issues. Except for people who are, of course, celiac and have an intolerance to gluten, that's a different issue. But India ate wheat for the longest time and they didn't have a problem. Today we have that seed in our mind that because wheat creates inflammation in the Western region, all of a sudden we think it creates problems with us. It does, and it is because of the quality of wheat and the way it's being processed. Dairy is a whole different subject. We know the amount of contamination, the amount of animal cruelty behind it, the amount of estrogen and hormones that's being pumped into milk today. India chose to fly in Jersey cows and now everyone's eating Jersey cow milk, which is probably unique to the UK, where we had our original Gir Indian cows that produces better quality milk without certain proteins which are very, very difficult to digest. So when you move someone from the normal milk from a Jersey cow onto your A2 or your Gir milk, that's if they're milk consumers by choice, you will find that they do not have gut issues anymore. They are no longer lactose intolerant. So you see, we've tried to live the life that is not meant for us, and we've invited all these problems into our own country. Further in the Indian diet, you have pickles. When pickles were made with the right quality oil and the right quality salt, which was rock salt, okay, it turns out to be one of your best probiotic meals. You have chutneys, which are basically raw foods which are ground together, which had greens in, which had seeds in. Small portions of chutney provided the body with insane amounts of nutrition. Okay, and today it's all changed. You use processed ingredients in your chutneys and stuff like that. You have your Indian bread, which could be made out of different grains, and yet we want to eat sliced bread. And yes, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying do something which had wisdom and science in it. In fact, the Western world isn't looking at bread so much anymore. In fact, they're going off bread and we're embracing it. We're embracing all the wrong kinds of bread. There's the right kind of bread to eat, and then there's the wrong crop. You can bake your own bread, you can have sourdough bread, you can do all of these things, and then you have all the commercially highly processed white bread, brown bread slices. There's no difference between the two, that are filled with chemicals, with bromates and all of that stuff that wreaks havoc with your gut health. And all of a sudden we have a gut problem and we look at Indian food and we blame it. Okay? And then you have the introduction of junk food into our country. You have all McDonald's and Pizza Hut and all the junk food with French fries, and all of a sudden you're eating French fries and you're not eating your homemade puri, which is also deep fried, but deep fried in your own oil, which is not reused 100 times like it is done in fast food restaurants. So yes, you can have a puri. That was part of your staple diet. But depending on your health goals, you can do it if it's cooked in the right oil and you don't reuse the oil. But when you choose to have French fries from a fast food restaurant, number one, know that the potato is not even real potato. Number two, the oils are mixtures of 5 to 7 different oils, full of trans fats. Number three, they go on reheating the oil constantly. Stand at a counter and observe how French fries are being deep fried in any fast food joint. You'll see that multiple amount of French fry carriers go into the same oil. They're not changing the oil as often as you would do it in your own home. So do you blame the oil? Do you blame the puri? Or do you blame the quality of oil and the way it's being cooked? Okay? So everyone got away with a little bit of sweet. It's traditional on an Indian thali to have a little bit of sweet. Most of the sweets at that point were cooked with jaggery. And then the British came along with white refined sugar. There was a price put on it and everyone thought, oh, it's elite to have white sugar. So we moved to white sugar, processed sugar, and everything changed. You can still have your piece of sweet every day and your dessert every day. But the problem now is overconsumption. We want to have our sweet, plus we want to have processed food which has sugar and salt in, plus we want to have a dessert after every outside meal that we have. Plus, we want to make sure that most of our meals are not home cooked, but from outside again. So you see, the problem is overconsumption of bad quality. Do you blame Indian food now, or do you blame lifestyle? So it simply comes down to understanding that there is science and wisdom in Indian food. I can't tell you how many people we have abroad in different countries today who are embracing Indian food to prevent and to even heal certain conditions that they are going through, because they've understood that their standard diets provide them with no nutrition. Okay, they're embracing it. So we as Indians, we live proudly in our country which has all of this. And we got to start reviving it and making sure that that is our staple food. Pasta doesn't become our staple food. Have it once in a way. Okay, Thai food doesn't become our staple food. Chinese food doesn't become our staple food. These are good to have foods, have it once in a way. But your staple diet has to talk to the geography that you live in and your genetic makeup. And that's when you'll see that your health problems start to get better and better. The Gujaratis would put jaggery in their food. Today they replace it with white sugar. Why? Why? And that's why there's so much of diabetes in that sector. Only by changing from jaggery to sugar, you've created a bigger problem in the way that you eat. So we have to understand that the biggest problems are not Indian food. It is overconsumption. It is greed. It is wanting everything in your diet. Indian, Western, Japanese, Chinese, everything mixed together. No. Have a week of staple food, and on the weekend, take your kids out and enjoy a new cuisine every week. One day do Japanese, one day do Thai. Don't think that changing your entire diet is going to change the way your health, because you're getting a lot more variety, a lot more nutrition when you embrace different Indian foods and put it together for you. So if you look at the irony of it, Moringa, India is abundant in Moringa, and Moringa is being sold in the Western countries as a superfood. It grows abundantly in our country, and we're paying a higher price for something which was once a staple food that is now being sold. And I laugh when people from India fly down to the US and come back with Moringa supplements. Little do they know that all of it is being packed in India for a company in the US and is being sold back to you in the US, and you're just carrying it back into your country. So when we start utilizing all of these things, the farmers will have an initiative and a vision to grow this. If people are consuming it in our own country, they're going to grow it more for us. If we don't consume it, they grow it for other people who come in and take it to their own countries, and we end up spending more money. Look at coconut oil. Staple oil in India, sold as a superfood in the West. Pure ghee, staple in India, being sold at a very high price in the West again. Goji berries, found in the Himalayas, being sold insanely at an expensive rate in the US, and we bring it back into our own country. So it's unbelievable what's happening. If we all start getting together and understanding and reviving these cultures and doing it the right way, khichdi is not going to make you fat. Dosas and idlis are not going to make you fat. They're natural probiotic foods. You need to understand that these foods have not messed up your health. What has messed up your health is your sedentary lifestyle. Too much of stress, too much of inactivity, too much of crap food and eating outside food, too much of processed and junk food, too much of sugar. This has messed up your health, and today that's why you may find Indian food is heavy for you, because your digestive system is not enabled to digest the food that you once ate. You want to bring up your child the right way in India, look at the amount of nutrition they can get from a balanced Indian diet. Okay, you give them a plate that has all of these things together, they're going to get all the nutrition that you need. Then you're not going to go around searching for omega-3s and multivitamins, which is a Western thing, which adds very, very little value to your child's life or to your adult life unless you have a deficiency. You give your child the right kind of oil, the right kind of food in balance, and you take that wisdom from Indian food, and you're going to see our mindsets are completely controlled by the Western world. I have nothing against the Western world. I have everything against the way we allow our mindsets to be controlled by the other side of the world. And when that world is taking our yoga, that world is taking the way we eat, our oils, our spices and everything, we're laughing stocks when we're doing exactly the opposite. They're cleaning up their stuff that they messed up their country over the last few years and pushing it into our country, and we're opening with open arms, we're welcoming all of that stuff, and it's suddenly cool to be having a burger every second day because it seems American, and it is like cool to be American. We got to change our mindset. We can still be cool and we can still embrace the wisdom of our own culture and our own food. And that's what's going to get us back to the days that we were once healthy. And things like cancer and diabetes and stuff like that was unheard of. So we got to make that change. Don't depend on your healthcare system. Don't depend on your hospitals. Don't depend on anyone but yourself. When you start making a change with your family, with yourself and your children, okay, the people around you start doing that. And that's how you build a great culture of health. But today we live in a world where we want to blame everyone for our ill health. We want to blame everything around us, where we're sick because of this. We got to take accountability, responsibility, and be strong enough to make the change. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.